We left Earth to forget, but the stars remembered everything. The day we left Earth, the sky was burning with color, gold, crimson, and that strange kind of blue that feels both alive and dying at once. I remember standing at the edge of the launch platform, the air heavy with dust and memory, watching the last sunrise I would ever see from the ground that had given me birth. People said we were leaving to begin again, to start fresh, far from the ruins we had made. But deep down, I think we left because it hurt too much to remember. Our ship was called the Ark of Dawn, a vessel built to hold 12,000 souls and all their hopes. We carried seeds, art, music, and fragments of the old world, though most of us had long forgotten why they mattered. I was one of the archivists, assigned to record our journey, to document humanity's rebirth among the stars. My name is Liora, though no one has called me that in years. Out here, names fade like echoes in the dark. When the engines ignited, a sound like thunder swallowed the earth. The ground trembled beneath us, as if the planet itself were crying out, begging us not to go. I turned once, just once, to see the vast continents stretch below like broken glass, forests gone, oceans dimmed. Goodbye, I whispered, though I wasn't sure to whom. Maybe to the world. Maybe to the version of myself that belonged to it. We rose into the sky, through clouds turned to ash and light, until the blue vanished and the stars surrounded us. For the first time, I understood silence, not the kind you find in empty rooms, but the kind that exists when sound itself forgets how to exist. Captain Ilias walked down the command corridor, his voice steady, but eyes hollow. "We've crossed the upper orbit," he said. "Prepare for jump sequence in 30. The crew responded with quiet nods. We all knew the drill. We had trained for years. Yet, none of that could prepare us for the moment when Earth disappeared beneath us, becoming just another fading sphere among billions. That night, if you could call it night, I couldn't sleep. The artificial light in the cabin hummed faintly, a reminder that we were living inside a machine pretending to be a home. I walked to the observation deck, where vast windows revealed the endless dark. Stars glittered in every direction, sharp and alive. They looked peaceful, almost kind. I wanted to believe they had forgotten us, that they didn't care what we had done to our home. But as I stared, I felt something strange. A pull, a shimmer. It was as if the stars were watching back. A low voice broke the silence. "Couldn't sleep either?" I turned. It was Rian, one of the engineers, his hair still messy from his helmet. He smiled, tiredly. "Not really," I said. "It's too quiet." He joined me at the window, hands tucked into his pockets. "Funny, isn't it? We spent centuries dreaming of silence, of peace away from the chaos down there. Now that we have it, it feels wrong." "Maybe we weren't meant for peace," I said. "Maybe forgetting is harder than we thought." He chuckled softly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You sound like the captain. He says memory is the only thing strong enough to follow us across galaxies." I looked back at the stars. Then maybe the stars are full of memories. Maybe that's why they shine. Rian didn't answer. For a long time, we just stood there, two small figures adrift in the reflection of infinity. Somewhere behind us, the engines purred, guiding us toward the unknown. Ahead, nothing but a vast ocean of light. 3 months into the voyage, the dreams began. At first, they were harmless. Images of forests and rivers, laughter, rain falling on rooftops. I thought it was just nostalgia, our minds trying to cope with distance. But then they grew darker. Cities crumbling, shadows moving across the sky, whispers in the static of our communication lines. The captain noticed it too. He called for a crew assembly in the central chamber. "Something strange is happening," he said, his tone measured but uneasy. "Half the ship has reported recurring dreams. The same ones. Places from Earth, some real, some imagined. We've checked for neural interference, cosmic radiation, but nothing explains it." Someone asked, could it be the AI's memory banks? Maybe the system's echoing old data? But the AI, a voice we called Orphean, denied it. "No irregularities detected. The phenomena originate from human neural patterns, not ship systems. That only made the unease worse. Because if it wasn't the ship, then what was it? That night, the dreams returned again. This time, I was standing in a meadow I didn't remember, surrounded by glowing fireflies. The stars above me pulsed, brighter and brighter, until they formed shapes, words. I couldn't read them, but I felt them, like a song pressed against my skin. When I woke, tears were on my face. Rian met me at breakfast. He looked pale. "You too?" I asked. He nodded. They said my name. The stars. I swear I heard them. I wanted to tell him he was imagining things. But deep down I knew he wasn't. Because the stars had whispered something to me too, a name I hadn't heard in years. My mother's. By the time we reached the edge of Saturn's orbit, the dreams had turned into visions. Some people stopped sleeping entirely. Others claimed to hear voices even when awake. Old friends, long dead. The ship's corridors echoed with fragments of songs no one remembered recording. Captain Ilias tried to maintain control, but even he was changing. I caught him once on the observation deck, speaking softly to the stars as if apologizing. When I approached, he said, "Do you ever feel like they're trying to tell us something, Liora? That they remember everything we did? Every light we put out?" I hesitated. Maybe. Or maybe they're just mirrors, showing us what we don't want to see.
He sighed.
Then why do they call our names? The question lingered like a wound. As days turned to months, we left the solar system behind. The stars grew denser, the darkness deeper. The further we went, the more the ship began to feel alive, not just in its hums and pulses, but in a way that unsettled us. Sometimes, the walls would tremble, though sensors showed no movement. Sometimes, we'd hear laughter in the communication channels, soft, human laughter, recorded nowhere. Orphean would say, "No transmission detected." But we heard it all the same. And in the heart of it, a single truth began to take shape, one we didn't yet dare to speak. We had left Earth to forget, but something out here remembered us. The stars were not silent after all. We were halfway through the third year of the voyage when reality began to loosen its grip. At first, it was subtle, a misplaced object, a corridor that seemed longer than before, lights flickering in patterns that looked like constellations. But soon, the line between dream and waking started to blur. People began to see things, shapes in the observation glass, shadows walking through the hydroponic fields. One technician, Mara, swore she saw her childhood home reflected in the control panels. "It was exactly the same," she whispered to me once, trembling. "Even the red curtain my mother made before she died. It's like the ship remembers what I've forgotten." I didn't know what to say. The ship had become a mirror for our memories, or maybe something was using our memories to reach us. The captain ordered Orphean, the ship's AI, to run diagnostics every 6 hours. But the results were always the same. No external interference detected. And yet, the interference persisted. One evening, as I walked toward the archives, I found the door slightly open. The holographic records, the ones that stored the last images of Earth, were active, playing without authorization. On the projection table was a city skyline, half drowned in water, half burning. Smoke drifted upward, dissolving into the stars. I froze. That was New Geneva, the city where my father died. I had deleted those files years ago. "Who turned this on?" I whispered. The air didn't answer, but the hologram shifted. The image zoomed in toward a window I recognized from my old apartment. And there, standing behind it, was me. The reflection looked straight at me, older, broken. Then it faded, leaving only the faint hum of the ship. The next day, Captain Ilias held another meeting. His voice was tight with exhaustion. "We are changing course," he said. "There's an anomaly ahead, a star cluster unrecorded in any archive. Orphean reports strange energy readings from its center. It might explain the interference." Someone shouted, "Or it might kill us." Another added, "Maybe we should turn back." The captain's expression softened. "There's no turning back. Earth's orbit decayed years ago. Even if we could return, there's nothing to go back to." Silence filled the chamber. We all knew he was right, but that didn't make it easier. Turning toward the stars felt like walking into the arms of something ancient and awake. That night, I joined Rian again on the observation deck. He was staring at the new cluster. It looked like a scar of light in the distance, glowing faintly blue. "Do you feel it too?" he asked quietly. "What?" "The pull. Like it's calling to us. Like it knows who we are." I nodded. "Maybe it does. Maybe that's what's been happening all along. The stars remembering us." He laughed bitterly. "Then they have good reason to hate us." We fell silent again. The stars shimmered, but their light felt heavier now, more deliberate, like eyes that refused to blink. As we approached the cluster, the ship's systems began to falter. Gravity fluctuated. Clocks desynchronized. The AI's voice stuttered mid-sentence. "Apologies, Liora. My parameters are expanding." "Expanding?" I asked. "Yes. There are memories inside the data streams. Not mine. Human. Billions of them." My breath caught. "You mean it's transmitting memories?" "Not transmitting," Orphean said. "They are being remembered." By the time the captain reached the command deck, the whole ship was vibrating with low resonance, like a song beneath hearing. It wasn't mechanical. It was alive, deep, old, endless. Outside, the cluster filled the viewport. It wasn't like any star system we'd seen before. The stars here pulsed in rhythm, connected by invisible threads of light. It looked like a web, a living memory suspended in space. "This isn't a cluster," Rian whispered. "It's something else." The captain nodded grimly. "Prepare the analysis probe." But before the probe could launch, every light in the ship dimmed, and the stars began to move. At first, I thought it was an illusion. But no, the stars themselves shifted positions, aligning into patterns. Words. Symbols. Shapes we somehow recognized. The constellations rearranged themselves into memories, our memories. Across the glass, I saw images from Earth, forests, oceans, children playing under sunlight that no longer existed. Every crew member saw something different, yet somehow connected. It was as if the universe itself was showing us the story we had tried to forget. Rian whispered, "They're remembering for us." The captain's voice was a murmur. "Or reminding us what we destroyed." Suddenly, the stars brightened, blindingly. When the light faded, the ship's data logs had changed. Entire archives were filled with new entries, files that none of us had written. I opened one. It was a recording of my mother's voice. Clear, warm, alive. "Liora," she said softly, "you can't run from what made you. Even the stars carry our mistakes." I froze. My mother had died long before the launch. How could her voice be here? Across the deck, people cried out. They were hearing their own voices, their own ghosts. The AI's console flickered uncontrollably. "Warning, identity resonance at maximum threshold," Orphean said. "Memories are manifesting as light patterns. Caution advised." But it was too late. The ship trembled violently. Panels burst into sparks. We were inside something vast and ancient, something that had been watching us since the beginning. The captain shouted orders, but they were drowned out by the rising hum, a song without words, coming from everywhere and nowhere. The stars were singing. When I woke, the ship was still. Half the systems were offline. Emergency lights bathed the corridors in red. For a moment, I thought we had died. But then I heard faint breathing. Others were alive too. Rian found me near the observatory. "You're okay?" he said, relief washing over his face. "We thought we lost you." "What happened?" I asked. He hesitated. "We passed through it. The cluster. It wasn't just light. It was memory made real. It's like the universe itself remembered everything that ever happened to Earth, and it showed us." I stared out the window. The cluster was gone now, but in its place floated something impossible, a great, luminous shape, like the outline of a planet made from starlight. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Rian followed my gaze. "You think it's watching us?" I nodded slowly. "No, I think it's waiting. We stayed there, adrift, for days, repairing what we could, trying to understand what had happened. People whispered that the stars had spoken to them, not in words, but in feelings, sorrow, forgiveness, longing. The captain recorded a new log. We came here to forget our past, but the stars will not allow it. They are the universe's memory, and we are its scars. That line stayed with me. I began to wonder if maybe forgetting was never meant to be our destiny. Perhaps the reason we were still alive, drifting in the dark, was because we were supposed to remember. That night, I dreamed again. I stood on Earth, beneath a sky full of stars. But this time, the stars were alive, whispering in 1,000 voices. They said, "We were born from your fires. We carry your light, and when you are gone, we will still sing your name." When I woke, tears were on my face again. Only this time, they weren't from fear. They were from something like peace. I and the days that followed the encounter, time itself seemed to change aboard the Ark of Dawn. It no longer flowed, it drifted. We would wake without knowing how long we had slept. The clocks disagreed with each other. Sometimes a meal would last hours, sometimes seconds. It felt as though the universe was breathing around us, pulling us in and letting us go again. The captain ordered a full system recalibration, but Orpheon, the AI, responded with an unsettling calm. Temporal distortion cannot be corrected. The ship exists within a field of memory. You are traveling through time, but not forward. That statement made the entire control room go silent. Rian frowned. What does that mean, not forward? Orpheon's voice was soft, almost human. You are passing through what remains of what was, fragments of light that once were moments. The stars remember time differently. We looked outside, and indeed, the stars seemed alive with movement. Sometimes I could swear I saw shadows walking among them, silhouettes of people, faces from the past, rising and fading in the glow. I couldn't stop thinking of my mother's voice, the one I'd heard through the data logs. It wasn't just memory, it was presence. Somehow, she was still out there in the light. I began spending more time at the observation deck, staring into the endless blue-white shimmer beyond the hull. The others were afraid of it, but not me. I felt drawn to it, as if the stars were calling me home. On the 5th day, the captain called me to his quarters. His face looked older, drawn by sleepless nights. "Liora," he began, "Orpheon says your neural patterns are resonating more strongly than anyone else's. The field responds when you approach the viewport." "That's impossible," I said. "Is it?" He looked out the window, where a gentle light was pulsing in the void, steady, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. "Whatever this is, it's alive. And it seems to know you." I felt a chill run through me. "What do you want me to do?" He handed me a small recorder. "Talk to it. If it's reaching for us, maybe it'll reach back." So that night, I went alone to the observation deck. The ship was quiet, everyone asleep except Orpheon, whose voice hummed softly through the speakers. I stood before the glass and whispered, "If you can hear me, what are you?" For a long time there was nothing, just silence and the faint hum of the ship's engines. Then, slowly, the stars outside began to shift. Not violently, not suddenly, just enough to rearrange themselves into patterns. Light gathered, forming shapes, a spiral, a river, a heartbeat. Then a voice, not through sound, but inside my thoughts, gentle, vast, and ancient. "You left to forget. But memory is light, and light cannot die." I gasped, stepping back. The words weren't just heard, they were felt. They vibrated through my bones. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling. "We are the echo of everything that has ever lived. The songs of stars, the breath of planets, the dreams of those who came before. We remember because you cannot." I wanted to run, but I couldn't. My legs refused to move. "Why show us this?" "Because you are the only ones who forgot your origin. You burned your home, but the fire still burns within the stars. You left, but your shadow never did." Then the light faded, leaving me trembling and breathless. For the first time, I realized The stars weren't just reflecting our memories. They were our memories. Every thought, every life, every act, absorbed into the great expanse. The universe itself was remembering us. When I told the captain and Rian what I'd heard, they listened in stunned silence. Rian looked shaken. So they're what? Spirits? Cosmic ghosts?
Not ghosts, I said.
More like recordings written in light. Everything the universe has ever witnessed. The captain folded his hands. And we've disturbed it. Our ship, our technology, maybe even our thoughts, have awakened something ancient. Orphean's voice came over the intercom. Captain, the energy field surrounding the ship is intensifying. It seems to respond to human emotion. The stronger the memories, the brighter it becomes. So it feeds on memory? Rian asked. No, Orphean replied. It is memory. That night, a storm of light surrounded the ship. The hull glowed like molten glass as beams of energy wove around us, forming luminous threads. Each thread pulsed with images, people, cities, skies, and oceans that no longer existed. We were floating in a sea of remembrance. Some of the crew broke down, weeping. Others prayed. Rian stood beside me, silent. Do you see it? He whispered. That one, it looks like Earth. And indeed, amid the chaos, one great sphere of light hovered beyond the deck, a perfect image of Earth, shining with all the colors of memory. But it wasn't the Earth we had left. This one was whole, alive, green, unbroken. For a moment, I felt peace. Then the voice returned, soft and infinite. This is what you were. This is what you still are, if you remember. I reached out, pressing my hand to the glass. Can we go back? You never left, the voice said. You only forgot. Then everything went white. When I woke, I was lying in a field. Grass beneath my hands, wind on my face. For a moment, I thought I was dreaming again. The air smelled like rain. The sky was full of stars. Then I saw Rian nearby, kneeling in disbelief. Liora, are we dead? I don't think so, I whispered. All around us were others, crew members, alive, confused, but unharmed. The ship was gone. Above, in the sky, I saw it, a faint shape of light drifting among the stars, dissolving like a memory fading from existence. We stood there for hours, too stunned to move. The world around us was real, but not Earth. The continents were different, the stars slightly shifted. Yet the air was breathable, the sky blue, the soil warm. It was as if the universe had created a memory of Earth, a living echo built from light and longing. Days passed. We began to build shelters from the materials that appeared near the landing site. The light shaped itself to our needs: food, water, warmth. It was as if the stars themselves were caring for us. The captain called this place the mirror world. He said, perhaps this is what happens when the universe forgives. It gives us a chance to remember without pain. But forgiveness has a cost. Each night, the sky above the mirror world shimmered with faces. People we had lost, people who never made it off Earth. They didn't speak. They just watched, glowing softly like constellations. Rian said it comforted him. For me, it was different. Because among those faces, I saw one I could never forget, my mother's. She smiled, and though no sound came, I felt her words inside my chest. The stars remembered, so you wouldn't have to carry it alone. One night, I walked to the edge of the sea. Yes, there was a sea here, endless and calm. Its waves glowed faintly, like liquid starlight. Rian joined me, silent as always. He said, "Do you think we'll ever see Earth again?" I looked at the horizon. Maybe not. But maybe that's not what matters. Maybe Earth lives on in us. And in them. I pointed upward to the glittering sky. We thought the stars were cold. But maybe they're just full of memory and love. He smiled faintly. You sound like you believe it. I do, I said. Because for the first time, I feel like we're home. And above us, the stars pulsed softly, like they were breathing with us. That night, I wrote my final log entry for the Ark of Dawn. We left Earth to forget, but the stars remembered everything. They carried our past through light and time until we were ready to face it again. We are not lost, we are remembered. And, in being remembered, we are reborn. The mirror world became our new home, though we never called it permanent. It was a place built from memory and light, yet alive in ways that no human world had ever been. Days turned to weeks, and weeks into months. We learned to live with the stars watching us, guiding us. The sky shimmered each night with faces of the past, flickering softly like candles in a cosmic wind. Some people cried at the sight, others found comfort. I walked among both, trying to understand the strange gift we had been given. Captain Ilias remained a steady figure, though I could see the weight of leadership in the lines of his face. He spent hours watching the horizon, silent, as if listening to the stars themselves. Sometimes he would mutter words under his breath, prayers, perhaps, or confessions. Rian and I had grown closer during this time, bound by shared memory and the quiet understanding that the universe itself had chosen us to remember. He rarely spoke, but when he did, his words carried weight. One evening, as the twin moons rose above the glowing forests, he asked me, "Do you think the stars will ever forget us?" I shook my head.
No.
They don't forget. That's why we are here. They've carried us across the void, so we could live again. We may forget ourselves sometimes, but they remember everything. He nodded silently, staring at the light-strewn sky. The months passed, and slowly, we built a society. Not like Earth, not exactly, but one shaped by memory and care. Houses grew from starlight, forests shimmered with colors that had no names, and rivers flowed with water that glowed softly, reflecting the constellations above. Children were born here, their laughter ringing like chimes through the luminous trees. But the most remarkable thing was how the stars continued to guide us. One day, while walking through the forest, I saw a path illuminated in a gentle glow. It led to a clearing where the light coalesced into a shape, a city, formed entirely of memory. Buildings that once existed on Earth, monuments, libraries, and streets appeared here, reconstructed by the stars' memory. We called it Remembrance City, a place where the past lived alongside the present. The captain said, "We came here to forget, but we never needed to. The stars did that for us, and more. They preserved what was lost." But memory is not always kind. One night, a storm of light shook the mirror world. The sky pulsed violently, and the faces of the lost appeared closer, sharper, almost tangible. Some of the crew panicked. They ran through the forests, shouting, trying to escape the weight of memory. I found Rian at the observation lake, standing still as the waves glowed under the storm. "They're angry," he whispered. "No," I said. "They're just showing us everything. All the sorrow, all the joy, all the lives we left behind. We thought we could forget, but the universe remembers everything, and now it wants us to understand." The storm passed as suddenly as it began. The sky cleared, the stars settled back into their eternal dance. And in the calm, a single thought became clear to me: we are not separate from the universe. We are part of its memory, its light, its song. Years passed, and Remembrance City grew. Children ran freely among glowing rivers, learning the stories of Earth not from books, but from the stars themselves. Each evening, the stars sang softly, their song a lullaby of history, warning, and hope. I often sat with Rian at the observation deck of the tallest building in the city, watching the constellations pulse. Sometimes I could hear whispers, voices of the past, carrying lessons for the future. One evening, as a new generation of children gathered by the glowing lake, I realized that the purpose of our journey was not just to escape Earth, but to carry memory forward. The stars had given us a gift, the ability to remember without being crushed by it, to live with the past and still create a future. I whispered to the sky, as if speaking to a long-lost friend, "Thank you for remembering us." The stars shimmered in reply, a chorus of light stretching across the heavens. It was a song without words, yet I understood it perfectly. We will always remember. And because we do, you will always live. Decades later, as I walked among the children of Remembrance City, I understood the truth. We had left Earth to forget, but forgetting was never possible nor necessary. The stars carried our history, our sorrow, and our love, and in their memory, humanity was reborn. Our children would grow up knowing their roots, not as pain or regret, but as song. Every act, every life, every moment, preserved in light and memory. And when the final breath of our own lives arrived, I knew we would not disappear. The stars would carry us, whisper our names across galaxies, and sing our stories for eternity. Because some memories are too precious to die. Because the stars remembered everything.